They found 11 bodies in total, 10 men and 1 woman. The victims' ages ranged from 21 to 54 years old. All of them had been reported missing by their friends and family, but what they all had in common was a little more sinister. Before they vanished, each person scanned a QR code on a flyer. The police soon realized that this was no ordinary QR code. It was a trap. As soon as you scanned it, it would take you to a website where you could enter your name and phone number for a chance to win a prize. But the second you did that, you were automatically signed up for a subscription service, and the site would start tracking your location. But why? What was the purpose of all of this? And how did it lead to the victims vanishing? Well, after looking through hours and hours of surveillance footage, the police finally found the answers they were looking for. It turns out that every single victim went to this same website after scanning the QR code and entered their personal details. But instead of being notified when they won a prize, like the site made it seem, they were actually just being led into a trap. After entering their details, the site would send them an SMS message saying that they needed to confirm their identity in order to claim their prize. To do this, the victims had to go to a secluded location and scan another QR code. Once they did this, the people behind the website would know exactly where they were, and that's when they struck. Some of the victims were taken away in their own cars, while others were forced into strangers' vehicles, but all of them disappeared without a trace. Their bodies would later be found dumped in shallow graves or in the trunks of cars in remote locations. So who was behind all of this, and why did they do it? Well, it turns out that the mastermind behind the whole thing was a 23-year-old woman. You're probably wondering why the police didn't catch her sooner. That's because she was very careful. She always wore a mask in public, and when she talked to people, she used a voice changer app to disguise her voice. She came up with the idea for the QR code killer after seeing a similar scheme in an episode of Criminal Minds. In the episode, a serial killer puts QR codes on flyers, and when people scan them, they are redirected to a fake FBI website where they are tricked into giving up their personal information. The killer then uses this information to find the victims and take them to a remote cabin where he murders them. In the show, the team is able to stop the killer before he can strike again. But our copycat killer wasn't so easily stopped. Inspired by the episode, she created her own version of the killer website and started putting QR codes on flyers that she distributed around the city. She specifically targeted men between the ages of 21 and 54 because she believed that they were the most gullible. And her plan was to keep doing this until she had killed 20 people. But thankfully, the police were able to catch her before she could kill anyone else. When they searched her apartment, they found 18 more victims' worth of belongings, including their IDs, credit cards, and cell phones. They also found a list of potential targets who had not yet been contacted, but what's really scary is that some of these people were still alive when the police found the list. This means that the killer may have still been active, and that there could have been more victims if she hadn't been caught. In the end, she was convicted of all 11 murders and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. But this case still raises a lot of questions. For example, why did she choose to kill strangers? And what was her motive for killing so many people? Sadly, we may never know the answers to these questions since the killer is now behind bars and not talking to anyone. But one thing is for sure, the QR code killer will never get out of prison. And hopefully that brings the families of the victims some small measure of justice. If you want to hear another scary story, then check out the video that's on your screen now.